cheat. We buy businesses with good managers. So if you give me 100 MBAs, and I have these classes come out all the time. I've had about 30 schools this year, and usually there's 75 or 100 men and women in the classes. I know more could take those 100 and spend a few hours and rank them from number 1 to 100 in terms of their future achievements as managers, than I could pick them. It would be impossible for me. But what we do is we buy businesses with great managers in place. We've seen those people perform for, in many cases, decades. We've seen their record, and they come with the business. Now, our job is not so much to select great managers, because we do have this proven record that they come with. Our job is to retain them. And many of the managers, the majority of the managers that work at Berkshire, are independently wealthy. We hand them checks, sometimes in the billions, often in the hundreds of millions. So they do not have a monetary reason to work in many cases. So our job, we are dependent on them, incidentally. I mean, we have 19 or so people at headquarters, and we have 250,000 working for Berkshire around the world. And we can't run their businesses. And our job is to make sure that they have the same enthusiasm, excitement, passion for their job after the stock certificate changes hands than they had before. Now that requires some judgment on our part as to whether these people love the business or love the money. Now, they all like money, but many of them, our managers in particular, they love their businesses. I mean, they've worked at them. They're a work of art to them, and they've been in the family sometimes as many as 4 generations. So we have to see the passion in their eyes, and if we see that, then we have to behave in a way that passion remains. Can't be done by contract. We don't have contracts. That doesn't work. But we can try to create an environment, and Berkshire, frankly, is the ideal environment. It's even an ideal environment because of events like this. Our managers feel appreciated, and they are appreciated. They're not just appreciated by me and Charlie. They're appreciated by you, and we want to give you a chance to applaud them.
Well, actually, I would say they have been. I think we started out with $2 billion. I could be wrong, but my memory was $2 billion with Todd when he came with us, and so there have been substantial additions, and of course, their own capital has grown just because you can say, in a sense, they retain their own earnings. So, they are managing a proportion of Berkshire's capital, or also measured by marketable securities. I think they're managing a proportion that's pretty similar, maybe even a little higher than when each one of them entered, and Ted entered a year or two after Todd. I think they would agree that it's tougher to run $10 billion than it is to run $1 or $2 billion. I mean, your expectable returns go down as you get into larger sums, but the decision to bring them on has been terrific. I mean, they've done a good job of managing marketable securities. They made more money than I would have made with that same, what is now $20 billion, but originally was $2 billion. And they've been of terrific help in a variety of ways beyond just money management. So that decision, that's been a very, very good decision. And they're smart. They're good they have money minds. They are good specifically at investment management, but they're absolutely first-class human beings, and they really fit Berkshire. So that was Charlie gets credit for Todd. He met Charlie first, and I'll claim credit for Ted, and I think we both feel very good about the decisions. Charlie?
Well, I think the shareholders are very lucky to have them because they both think like shareholders.
Totally.
After all, it came up that way, and that is not the normal way headquarters employees think. It's a pretense that everybody takes on, but the reality is different. And these people really deeply think like shareholders, and they're young and smart and constructive. So we're all very lucky to have them around.
Yeah, their mindset is 100%. What can I do for Berkshire? Not what can Berkshire do for me? And believe me, you can spot that over time with people. And on top of that, they're very talented. But it's hard to find people young, ambitious, very smart, that don't put themselves first. And every experience we've had, they do not put themselves first. They put Berkshire first. And believe me, I can spot it.
Warren has made himself into kind of a dean of investors, starting as a boy, and he has a greater respect for the process than I do. I have a good bit of Keynes's attitude that money management is sort of a low calling compared to being a surgeon or a lot of other things. I think the corporate types, the corporate managers, ought to study investing better because they'd be better managers. And I think that everyone who thinks about through the investment process learns more about how the world really works. And I think that's very worth having. But I do not like as big a percentage of GDP as we now have going to money management and its attendant frictions. And I don't like the percentage of the nation's brain power that is now in all of these different forms of highly compensated money management. I don't think it's a good thing for the country, and I hate the fact that we've contributed to it by our own predilections.
Charlie is only sitting up here next to me as part of his outreach program, actually. Please don't take any pictures that you could blackmail him with being associated with me. Charlie made a very good point there about how managers could do better if they understood investments. I find it absolutely fascinating, and I've seen this throughout my life. I've seen it close up. I will have friends who are CEOs of companies, and they'll have somebody else handle their money. If you say to them, should you buy Coca-Cola or Gillette or something like that, they'll say, that's much too tough. I don't understand that sort of thing. What do I know about investing? And then some investment banker will walk in the next day with the idea they buy a $3 billion company, which is just buying a lot of shares of stock of one company. And they'll run through some little 2-hour presentation and turn it over to a strategic planning group and think that they are then the ones that should make that decision as to whether to buy multi-billion-dollar businesses when they really don't feel they're qualified to make $10,000 decisions with their own money. And it's extraordinary what you see in corporate America in the acquisition activity. It's a little like they say about making sausage and making laws. It's better unobserved. Charlie, do you have any further thoughts on that? You've seen a lot of it with me.
Well, I do think that the present era has no comparable precedent in the past history of capitalism. I think we have a higher percentage of attention of our intelligent classes into buying little pieces of paper and trying to get rich doing it, and in promotional activities with big profit sharing fees. I can recall no past era which had a similar concentration of this type of activity. Can you, Warren?
No, but I think you would say probably too that when we've seen sort of baby versions of this, something subsequently happened that
oh yes, if you want to talk about what are the future implications, a lot that I see now kind of reminds me of Sodom and Gomorrah. And
we weren't there, incidentally. I mean,
no, but there's a published account. And I think when you get as much sort of regrettable activity going on and sort of feeding on itself in frenzies of envy and imitation.
He gets offered $200 million. We may not compete too vigorously at that level. We basically try to run a business so that Charlie and I have two jobs. We have to identify and keep good managers interested after we figured out who they are, and that often is a little different here because I would say a majority of our managers are financially independent, so that they don't go to work because they are worried about putting kids through school or putting food on the table. So they have to have some reason to go to work aside from that. They have to be treated fairly in terms of compensation, but they also have to figure it is better than playing golf every day or whatever it may be. And so that's one of the jobs we have, and we basically attack that the same way. We look at what they do the same way we look at what we do. We've got a wonderful group of shareholders. Before I ran this, I had a partnership. I had a great group of partners, and essentially I like to be left alone to do what I did. I like to be judged on the scorecard at the end of the year rather than on every stroke, and not second-guessed in a way that was inappropriate. I like to have people who understood the environment in which I was operating. And so the important thing we do with managers generally is to find the 400 hitters and then not tell them how to swing, as I put in the report. Second thing we do is allocate capital. And aside from that, we play bridge. It's pretty much what happens at Berkshire. So with any of the managers you might name here, we try to make it interesting and fun for them to run their business. We try to have a compensation arrangement that's appropriate for the kind of business they're in. We have no company-wide compensation plan. We wouldn't dream of having some compensation expert or consultant come in and screw it up. We try to. Some businesses require a lot of capital that we're in. Some require no capital. Some are easy businesses where good profit margins are a cinch to come by, but we're really paying for the extra beyond that. Some are very tough businesses to make money in, and it would be crazy to have some huge framework that we tried to place everybody in that where one size would fit all. People generally are compensated relating in some manner that relates to how their business does, as opposed to, there's no reason to pay anybody based on how Berkshire does, because no one has responsibility for Berkshire except for Charlie and me. And we try to make them responsible for their own units, compensated based on how those units do. We try to understand the businesses they're in, so we know what the difference between a good performance and a bad performance. And that's how we work with people. We've had terrific luck over the years in retaining the managers that we wanted to retain, and it's I think largely it's because, particularly, they sell us a business that to a great extent the next day they're running it just as they were the day before, and they're having as much fun running their business as I have running Berkshire. Charlie?
Well, I've got nothing to add, but I think it's that concept of treating the other fellow the way you'd like to be treated if the roles were reversed. It's so simple when you stop to think about it, but it's a rare evening when Ajit and Warren aren't talking once on the phone. It's more than a business relationship, at least it seems that way to me.
Yeah, well, it is. Stay that way, too.
And by the way, we like our businesses, our relationships to be more than a business relationship.
Charlie and I are very far. We basically, it's a luxury, but it's a luxury that we should try to nurture. We get to work with people we like, and it makes life a lot simpler. It probably helps on that goal of being the oldest living American, too.
Yeah, and we tend to like people we admire.
Yeah, who do we like that we don't admire, Charlie? Start naming names. Do these people have names? Zone 2.